eventually.
All right, guys, we are live. It's episode 319, Other Shooters Mindset. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Jennifer Seymour is joining me. What's going on, Jen?
Hey, everybody.
Greg Cannon's in the house. What's going on, Greg?
Hey, everyone.
And guest star of the hour, Aaron Hipp's in the house. What's going on, Aaron?
Hey, how's it going?
That's good to have you on here. We're going to get into it. I'm kind of trying to remember how to host the Shooter's Mindset show still, so bear with me if I stumble. Oh, that's what you don't want to do in the background, but that's all right. Well, but show sponsors. The folks at GSL Technologies, GSLTechnologies.com for your suppressor needs, from 22s all the way up to 300 Win Mag. And I mean, if you don't make it, he can probably make it. That dude is a genius when it comes to suppressors. So check out GSLTechnologies.com. All right, shootersmindset.com is the website where you can keep up with all the Shooters Mindset episodes there. We got the podcast up, so all your favorite podcast streams, you can catch it there. YouTube is kind of slow. I think I'm 2 episodes behind uploading, but you can always catch them on YouTube. And of course, on the Shooters Mindset on Facebook, we do it live there every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can catch the show live, get your questions in throughout the show for Aaron, for any of us. It's a good time to learn about his products and what he has going on right now. So for those unfamiliar with you, Aaron, tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of how you got involved in shooting competitively.
I grew up in a kind of a small community, just was always a fan of rifles, and, I had a pellet gun and a 22, and, just kind of wanted to shoot more and more. And I mean, it was just something I always enjoyed. I think about the furthest we had around us was 100 yards. Worked a couple, they were called turkey shoots. I was basically guys with 22 shooting these, little silhouette animals out to about 100 yards. And it was really cool, like 22s at 100 yards. And, we'd run down there and set them back up and run down there and set them back up. And it was just something that I always enjoyed, and always enjoyed shooting, and always enjoyed the challenge of trying to get better at it.
So now here we are. Like I said, everybody knows that I'm not involved in the PRS game, but obviously you are. That's how Jen and everybody gets to know you. How are you doing in that series? Like, where are you placed? How are you doing in that?
Man, I haven't even looked at it. There's so many matches anymore that your score can change drastically. I mean, when I started, there were maybe 50 to 75 people in it. I mean, that's like 3 owners ago. And now there's hundreds of people in it, or thousands of people that buy memberships, and hundreds of people that compete. There's just so many good people. I don't really care where I end up. I mean, granted, I like doing better. I think the last I looked, I was in like 30th place or something overall. But it just depends. I mean, there's so many more matches out there that you can replace a bad score and get a better one and jump up. But this year, I think I shot 5 matches total, and I focused on shooting AG Cup matches. So I think 4 of my 5 matches were AG Cup, and maybe one of them wasn't, or maybe they all were. I don't even remember.
Oh, there you go, man. 3 owners ago, we had 3 owners of the PRS on this show.
Did you?
I believe so. It was Sean, was it Castle, and Shannon, right?
Oh,
I believe that was
like
3.
Owners from back in the day, like Rich Emmons time frame.
Oh, shit. Well, no. I go back as Sean.
Yeah. I mean.
But the owners kind of flipped kind of quick, though. So recently, it seemed that way.
The PRS has been around for a lot longer than I think most people realize. I mean, I've been shooting, quote, tactical matches, I think, for 10 years. Dave Preston and I were talking about it here recently, like trying to figure back out when our first match was. And we actually realized, like, my first PRS style match was Dave's first PRS style match. We actually met each other at that match. And if you think some of the stages you dislike now, you should just you should ask some of the guys that have been in this for a while, some of the stages they had back then. I mean, they were the dumbest things you could imagine, like sitting on your partner's shoulders and shooting over like a 10-foot wall. I mean, that was back when, we had pistols at matches before people decided to shoot themselves in the leg here and there at random matches. But it's changed a lot over the years. I mean, I remember when we first started, it was light, go from standard fill Manners stocks to carbon fiber fill Manners stocks to running tab gear pump pillows. Like we were running everything as light as possible. And then it started going back to kind of standard. And then now it's as heavy as possible, right? Like, run a 28 pound 6 BR and, your bags are filled with sand. It's just a completely different game now. Like all of the stuff that is out there now, like thank the old guys that have been doing it forever, because they're the ones that took all the other stuff and spent the time to learn what didn't work. And go out and shoot with some of them sometimes and actually use some of the, super lightweight rifles and super lightweight bags and pump pillows, and see how good your fundamentals and how good of a shot you really are.
It's always eye-opening sometimes, literally, when you forget how spoiled we are with the awesome equipment we have. I remember like a year ago, I went shooting with the family and my brother's like, oh yeah, well, see if you shoot as good with my rifle, and handed me a synthetic stock pencil barrel Remington 700 30-06, and I got behind it like I normally would, and then pulled the trigger once, like, oh, that's not how you shoot these guns.
Yeah,
it's completely different.
Well, I said that I challenged the JTAC guys to come to a match with like an RPR and shoot and see how they place. Last week on the show.
Doug Koenig does pretty darn good with an RPR.
That's what I said. I said you should come with like all base equipment and shoot a match to prove to people that are like, I need this, I need that, I
mean, the stuff you can get off the shelf these days is just leaps and bounds, above what everybody was running back then, right? I mean, back then you had to effectively, most people were buying Remington 700s and truing them, or, you were buying Surgeon Actions or Defiance Actions. For the most part, that was kind of it. You look at the guys that are doing gunsmithing now. I mean, they were the guys working for those companies back then and shooting with us, right? I mean, Wade Stuteville. I mean, I remember when I started, like Wade was one of the guys that I looked up to. Jonathan Berry's running matches now. Jonathan Berry crushes it. I mean, it's funny to see all of the guys that were shooting back in the day that are in a different position now, or still shooting now, or have a business related to the firearms industry or shooting industry, or you don't see them much anymore. It's interesting. There's a lot. I miss a lot of the guys. It was fun. I mean, I learned a lot.
There you go, Greg. What do you got?
Let's see. So tell us about the adaptive tuning system and kind of how you came up with this awesome idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm a tinker by trade. I mean, I just love to learn things. And sorry, I'm looking over here because my dog's just walked down here and wants to hang out and probably knock cords and cables over. But I love to tinker with things. Like I'm an engineer through and through. I always want to know the why. Like, why does it do that? Can I change it? What can I do to make it do something different, whether it's better or worse? It's always a learning experience. And I've posted various things over the years, and everything from powder testing to load testing, jump testing to, I'm sure some of you have seen the videos where, I beat the living tar out of a rifle on my deck because I was testing shift and could I get a non-bedded rifle to perform like a bed. I want to know the why. Like, I'm the kid that my parents always would walk in the room and, the VCR and the TVs in 100 different pieces.
I'm not the only one.
I remember one time I was in the basement and I tore apart like an old CB radio that my dad had. And I remember walking downstairs looking at me, and he's like, you better be able to put that back together. I just kind of turned around and walked back upstairs. But that was me. Like, how do things work? Like, why do things do what they do? And I've always just wanted to know more and tear things apart. So in regards to the tuner, tuners have been used in bench rest for years, right? It's not a new idea. A lot of the things in cartridges that we're doing in PRS right now, have trickled over from bench rest. We all learn from each other. There's different things. but for me, I mean, I wanted to learn more about tuners, right? So I'm like, all right, what exactly does a tuner do, and what can I do with it? And is it repeatable? Is it consistent? Can it help? What kind of flexibility does it give? And so I started looking at what tuners were out there. And I mean, I got a lathe sitting in the garage, and I looked at all the designs, and I'm like, I'm going to have to thread my barrel to leverage these, right? Or if I don't have to thread my barrel, I can't use the suppressor or muzzle brake with it. And so for me, like the engineer, I'm like, I don't like that. That's not flexible, and it's not going to work for what I want to do. Like, I can thread my own barrels in here in the garage, and I don't even want to buy a tuner to thread my own barrels. Like, it's too time consuming. And for me to learn about tuners, I want to run it on multiple barrels. I want to run it on different calibers. I want to run it on different lengths. I want to run it on different contours. Like, that's the only way for me to truly understand something and learn. And so I thought, well, heck, I'll just go out in the garage. And I walked out in the garage and had some bar stock there. And I just kind of stood and stared at it for about 15 minutes. And I'm like, all right, well, here's what I would do. And I wanted to just make something that would allow me to learn about tuners, do it on a bunch of different rifles. I could make one tuner and it would work on any of the rifles that I had, and it would still let me use my muzzle brake or suppressor. And I literally just fired up the lathe and made one. And about 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh yeah, that kind of works. And, revised it a couple times. And about an hour later, I was done. And I'm like, yeah, this will work. And let me tell you, it was ugly. I mean, it was not meant to be pretty. It was not meant to be, sold or manufactured. It was purely for me to learn more about them. And so I started putting it on different rifles I had, and just learning more about it. And that's really where it all started. I mean, I wanted to learn about them, but I didn't like the designs that were out there because I didn't want to I didn't want to have to thread barrels. I didn't like the fact that I either had to thread the barrel in order to use a muzzle brake or thread the barrel behind the existing threads in order to use the tuner with my muzzle brake or a suppressor. And I go through way too many barrels, right? So I'm like, if this is going to work for me or any other PRS shooter, like, this thing's got to be flexible. Like, you should be able to put it on, put a muzzle brake on, put a suppressor on, and go with it. Like, if I can't do that, or I can't come up with a design that does that, then I don't really care, because I don't want to get involved with something that I consider like not cost effective, expensive, time consuming, or just generally frustrating. And so I think having to send off your rifle to get additional threads just to try something you may or may not like doesn't register with me. Like, it's just not logical for me. And that's me. Like, there are tuners out there that, you want to get it fitted to your barrel, by all means, get it. I'm not saying that they're, one's better, one's worse or anything. I'm just saying, for me, I wanted something that was flexible. I wanted something I could put on multiple rifles. And when that rifle shot out, I didn't want to have to pay to get the next barrel threaded and then the next barrel to get threaded. And, for PRS, we go through 4-6 barrels a year. I don't want to do that. Right. And like I said, I could thread it myself in the garage, and I still don't want to do that.
So exactly what does a tuner do, and why do I need one?
So a tuner effectively changes harmonics of your barrel, and it's hard to mentally perceive that your barrel kind of, does like a whip motion, right? It does it, right? It's steel, and people are like, nah, steel doesn't move. It moves, all right? It moves. It's moving, fractions of an inch, but it's moving, and it's whipping just like you would a whip. You just can't see it, so it's hard to kind of contemplate. Mm-hmm. And so what a tuner does is effectively it changes that harmonics. It changes your frequency and your amplitude. And if you think about it, if you've got like a bull whip and you snap the bull whip, it makes like a sine wave. But if you tied a tennis ball to the end of that whip, it's going to change your ability to kind of snap it or whip it. If you tied a baseball to the end of it, it's going to do the same thing. If you tied a bowling ball, so on and so forth. Now, if you did the same thing and you tied that baseball, tennis ball, bowling ball 10 inches back from the end of the whip, it's going to give you a different result. Effectively, that's how barrel tuners work. It's changing the harmonics. You're just moving a weight longitudinally along the barrel, and it's changing that frequency and amplitude of the whip. And it's hard to mentally kind of perceive it. There's a webpage out there called Varmint Owls. He does some great like stress analysis and like structural analysis of barrels in motion, right? I mean, and it's magnified so you can actually see kind of what a barrel does. But yeah, barrel tuners effectively just, they change that frequency and that sine wave whenever you fire the round.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, Aaron, where can we get this stuff? And what's your website if anybody's interested in looking more into it?
So my website is kineticsecurity-solutions.com, or it's adaptivetuningsystem.com. They both go to the same place. And you can go on there, and I've got some videos to explain how they work. You can kind of see it up on the TV behind me. And I've got a little barrel stuff here. I can put one on and kind of show you how they work. I'll tell you right now, I'm sold out of them. They've been pretty popular recently, and a lot of the precision rifle shooters have started to pick them up. Other shooters have started to pick them up. The 22 rimfire world has been pretty interested in them and starting to adopt them. It's interesting in the rimfire world, kind of historically, a lot of guys are running the shortest, heaviest, stiffest barrels they can find, and then they're lot matching ammo. I've got a slightly different view on that. I would tell you to run a 22-inch barrel or whatever and run a normal contour, like heavy Palma, something like that, so that it actually has a little bit more flex and give to it so you can tune it. There's a guy out there that's got one of mine. It's Chris Baxter, and he's on the Voodoo page. And he's basically getting the same results with $6 a box ammo is what he was getting out of $21 a box lot matched ammo. But I think there's like on 22s, I think there's a disservice that, of actually running like those super short, stiff, heavy barrels, because it's hard to change the frequency of those.
Mm-hmm. So like behind me, this is a CZ457 stock action, stock barrel. It's a 16.5-inch barrel, but it's, I don't know, how big is that? Maybe an inch barrel. So it's nothing super crazy, but with something that short, would a tuner work well on it?
Yeah, a tuner will work. So here's what I tell people: the stiffer the barrel, you're going to need one of two things. You're going to need a heavier weight, or you're going to need more movement with a lighter weight to tune it. So, I've got a hunting model and an XL model and kind of the standard competition model. You're going to be able to tune it. It's just going to take more work, right? So, all things equal, a same weight tuner is going to take more, most likely, to tune that really fat, short, stiff barrel than what it would take to tune something that's 6 inches longer in a lighter contour. So more rotations on the tuning weight.
Gotcha, but I could still use the same tuner. I just need to adjust, or I may need to adjust further depending on where I'm at now.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, I gotta dig deeper into that, man, because I just don't understand. What are we tuning? So you said obviously the barrel whips, right? So when I add this onto the end of my gun, what am I trying to accomplish by doing so? Like, I'm just trying to flatten everything out and not have that much whip by adding the tuner. And the result is what if I do that? Better accuracy.
Yeah.
Right?
So what you actually see when you put a tuner on, and you may see that your groups actually open up. As soon as you put the tuner on, you may see your groups open up. And that's no different than, you put a suppressor on, and some suppressors shoot great and other suppressors don't. For you and your rifle, you put those same suppressors on somebody else's rifle and their load, and the one that shot bad for you may shoot better on their rifle, right? It's literally just a harmonics thing. Now, whether you're getting the bullet to exit at the very top of the harmonic cycle or the very bottom of the harmonic cycle, or you're just getting it to exit at the same spot in the harmonic cycle every time versus, minute fluctuations that you have like with your normal load. So like I said, it's the difference of, how many reps, like if you held your arm out, how many reps with a 20-pound weight could you do if you had the 20-pound weight in your hand versus how many reps could you do if the weight was back here, right? Physics will tell you that it's harder to lift 20 pounds out here than it is to lift 20 pounds back here. And that's really all you're doing. You're smoothing out. I don't want to say you're smoothing out, but you're making things a bit more consistent, and you can pick, I don't want to say you can pick, but you're effectively picking, a similar spot or, spots that are close to each other. Ideally, you want to be at the top or the bottom of the harmonic of the harmonic cycle, because that's where you have the most kind of lag, right? I mean, if it's a sine wave, the difference between as you're going up the slope or down the slope from here to here is significantly different than is, you're at the top of the slope, right? I mean, it's much more flat. So that's really what you're doing. You're either smoothing out the amplitude and making it a smaller amplitude, or changing the frequency, or a combination of both.
I had
and
never
if you think about
heard
it,
that.
you're kind of doing the same thing when you do load development. You just don't think about it that way.
Say, I've never heard that explained so good.
Yeah. Now I get it, because I was like, "What's?" Hold on, I don't get it. Now I get it.
Look at so Kalen Wachek did his series here recently, and there was one on there with Ted from American Rifle Company, and they kind of got into harmonics and not so much barrel tuners, but harmonics of barrels and what makes sense. And Ted did a pretty good job of explaining it, which is rare for Ted, because we all know Ted is a bit of a genius and sometimes it's difficult to explain things to people. But he did a really good job, at least in my opinion, of explaining it. Maybe it's the nerd in me. I understood it a little bit more, but I mean, effectively, that's what you're trying to do. Think about it as a boat stage. Where do you want to pull the trigger when you're on a boat stage? You don't want to pull the trigger in the middle of the swing, right? You want to pull it at the top, at the front, or at the back. Same thing. And I'll follow it up with, I hate boat stages with a passion. I hope they all fall apart or burn or catch fire. I hate them.
Me too.
At least it's not a reverse KYL.
Yeah.
Because I don't like reverse KYLs.
I hate those.
Were you at that match?
Oh.
What was that? Alabama?
Where was that? Yeah, it was.
It was a reverse KYL at like 450 yards. Like the 2-inch target that you have to hit first. Yeah. Lots of people zeroed that.
Yeah. I was so happy with my.
Not just me. There were really good shooters that zeroed it too.
Oh yeah. There were people that were talking about how far they were out of first, or what they had to do to win the match, and then went through and zeroed that stage.
There you go.
Maybe
Aaron,
a tuner would have made it work, huh?
Aaron, what sets your tuner apart from the other tuners on the market?
So really, I mean, for me, I think it's the flexibility.
The flexibility?
Yeah, to use my tuner, you don't have to send your rifle off. You don't have to have additional threads added to it. If you have your 5/8 24, your half 28, your 3/4 muzzle threads, my tuner works on it. It's sleeves over the barrel. You don't have to send your rifle off, so you're not paying the cost to send it off. You're not waiting the X number of weeks that it is. You're not waiting to get it back. And it works. You put it on different rifles, right? I mean, if you shoot that barrel out, take it off and put it on another rifle. If you want to try it on one of your other rifles at home, pull it off and put it on another rifle. That's really what sets mine apart, is just that flexibility. And then,
it saves you a boatload of money.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to save you a boatload of money. I mean, if you look at tuners out there now, I mean, the tuners range from, I don't know, $100 depending to say $125 to $200 as is, but you've got to send your rifle off. You've got to pay the cost to get it threaded. You've got to get your rifle back. And then if you want to, you want to put it on a different rifle, you got to do the same thing over again. Mine's $200. It shows up at your doorstep, and put it on whatever rifle you want. If for some odd reason you don't like it, you can turn around and sell it, and somebody else can put it on whatever rifle they want. But again, I mean, I haven't had a single one of these really come back and say that they don't work. I've got some shooters that there's multiple shooters that have between 6 and 8 of them now, which I'm like, wow. I mean, I never would have thought that, but I guess I've probably got 6 to 8 muzzle brakes for different things. So I guess it's not all that surprising. I say that, hey, if you want to put it on different rifles, pull it off and put it on another one. But I think the people like us, like when we put something on, we're not going to pull it off. We're just going to buy another one when we put it on another rifle. But it's been great. I think, one of the, sorry, I didn't answer one of your other questions about why do I need one? Some people are going to say they don't need one. Their rifle shoots great. One of the things that always kind of bothered me, or I was trying to figure out, I'm the why guy. Like, why did that just happen? Is, I'd leave my house, and I had 830 yards off the deck that I could shoot.
Jealous.
But I mean, I would leave my house and, you know, I can walk downstairs and do load development, walk out back and shoot groups. I'm like, oh, perfect, shooting one hole. And I drive 6, 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever. And I go to a match and I get up there and I lay down on the 0 line and I start to shoot. And I'm like, this thing's shooting like a half inch, 3/4 of an inch. Like, what's going on here? And we all say it. Don't worry, don't adjust. It's not the rifle. It's probably just you. You're shooting downhill. You're laying on stones. It's not the normal place you shoot. You're nervous for the match. I mean, we've all said it. If we haven't said that, then I'd be surprised, because I know most of us do. And then we go into that match and we start thinking, like, at least for me, it's like, well, did I miss that shot because of me, or did I miss that shot because maybe the rifle really isn't performing the way I thought it was? And I just pulled my cable out of my laptop, so I'm not sure what's going on there. You know, is the rifle really shooting like that? And did I miss because of the rifle, or did I miss because of me? Is that 0 accurate? And so what I started to do with the tuners is, what I noticed was, you were much like, if you found the node, like an actual node, not like a single spot where it shot good, but you found a range and you set it right in the middle. I would leave here when it's 40 degrees and I'd show up at a match and it's 75 degrees. And the thing is still shooting one whole groups. It's shooting exactly the same point of impact. And there will be people to say like, oh, I've never had that issue. Good for you. You're one of the lucky ones. I would say the majority of us have had that issue. Show up at a match, the rifle's not shooting where we thought it is. We say it got banged in transport and that's where the 0 shifted, or, you know, the groups opened up. But I really do believe the more I've played with these and the more time I've spent behind it, it's something to do with the harmonics, whether it's the atmospheric conditions changes and the barrel temperature changes and your load changes. I really think I mean, for me, it's the harmonics. And, you know, when we shot war rifles this year, people were still kind of getting used to my tuners. And on the way out there, I got a text message from Hunter Sykes. And Hunter's like, hey, man, are you bringing any of your tuners to the match? And I'm like, yeah, why? He's like, dude, this thing was shooting one hole when I left, and it's like 3/4 of an inch. Like, there's no way. I'm like, all right, sure. And I get out there and we throw a tuner on it. We lay down and we dial it in, and it's literally like hole for hole. Like, he's shooting. He's like, are you kidding me? And at the end of day one, he was in second place. So like that whole leave the house, it's shooting great, go to a match and it's not shooting so great. I've had that happen. I've had the same happen where I leave the house, I'm like, it's good enough for a match. And I show up and I'm like, it's shooting better. Since I've started messing with a tuner, my loads from when I leave the house to show up at the match have been identical. And that's been in 40, 50, 60 degree, you know, leave here. It's, you know, I did the load development in 40 degrees and I go down to AG Cup in middle of the day one, it's 75.
Yeah, that's exactly why you should have one right there.
They help.
Right. There you go. Dude, got any good live ones there, Jen? Anything, Greg?
Yeah, I got a few live ones. Number one, Swanee wants to know if you can bring him one to the finale.
No, I wish I could, man. I'm out. Like, I've got some XLs, but you guys are buying them off of me. I mean, I never would have anticipated that they would have gotten the kind of the results as far as like the interest in them that I've gotten. Every time I make a run, like I make a bigger run, and then I make a bigger run, and I'm sitting there looking at them like, never going to sell these. And by the time I'm done with the run and they come back from nitride and they come back from laser engraving, I ship out a boatload of them and I'm looking at them and I'm like, I've got 15 left and they're gone in a week and a half. And I'm like, I have dealers, and I'm sorry guys, like I don't want to say dealers, but I have people that want to become dealers and I can't even support them right now because I can barely keep them in stock to fulfill existing dealer orders and the orders that I get on the webpage.
Yeah, I had someone message me earlier and he was like, man, I was looking at those things and I took a while making up my mind and I went back to all of the websites that I found it on and they're all sold out. So I guess it's a good position to be in. Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I mean, Short Action Precision's carrying them, Pearson Precision's carrying them, Alamo Precision, Masterpiece Arms, Patriot Valley, Anarchy Outdoors. So if you can't find them on my site, try those guys. They're all great companies. If you can't find them on their site, sorry. I've got another run in the works right now. We were planning on third week of December. with the holidays, I mean, as much as I want to hit that, it's probably going to be closer to the first or second week of January. And that's just nitriders and marking and everything else. There's, people are slowing down.
Is there a way to like pre-order? So if I decide I want it 100%,
yes.
Can I give you money now?
You can pre-order on my page. I do accept pre-orders. It actually helps me understand. The more people that place pre-orders is actually better for everybody, because if you place a pre-order, you're going to get one. If you don't place a pre-order and think you're going to come in and get one after they're showing in stock, you may not. I fill them in the order that I get them, and that includes the pre-orders on my webpage and the dealer orders. The more pre-orders you place, the more it allows me to actually plan for additional runs. If you're going to hold off and wait till they come in stock, and all of a sudden I get inundated with 50 or 100 orders 2 weeks after they're in stock, most likely some of you guys you're already going to end up being stuck in the next batch, because I'm trying to do planning, and I've made more and more and more every single run, and I'll be lucky to have them in stock 2 weeks.
That's a really good problem to have. Do you ever do anything custom? Because I know they only fit a specific size barrel. And Josh wants to know if you'd make one for a 1-350 straight taper barrel.
Unfortunately, no. I went up with the 1.25s, and those will actually accommodate like a 1.3, a 1.31 barrel. Because I'm making so many of them, it's just not conducive to do the one-offs. I wish I could accommodate those. In the future, I might. What I may do is actually make some that aren't threaded, so that I can just plug out the one-offs, cut out the one-offs. But as of now, unfortunately, I don't.
Gotcha. Phil Cashin wants to know if you're also a machinist. He said he read that in a magazine article.
Absolutely. Phil, it was in the article. I don't know why you're questioning it.
I have no idea what we're talking about, and I feel like I'm on the outside of an inside joke.
One of the recent ballistic magazines, they did an article on the tuners, and I've got it over there on the wall. It's the same one that the goofball Philip Vallejo is on the front with his cute spiky hair. Hi, Philip. Philip's a good guy. I just messing with him. But in the article, in the magazine, they did an article on the tuner, and called me out as a machinist. And it was just kind of it's been a running joke with Phil. So yes, Phil, I'm a machinist. I can help you out. Let me know if you need some help.
He could hire you.
I've been to his shop. He could use some help. No, I'm just kidding.
I slept in a Holiday Inn.
Exactly. I've stayed at a Holiday Inn once.
There we go.
So you talked a little bit about that it's easy to put on. So no gunsmithing needed. It can just thread straight onto what I have already.
Yeah. Where's my little stub here? Give me a second. Right. Can't see anything. All right. So, I mean, this is just kind of simulated barrel stub. Just a 5/8 24 tuner. Tuner sleeves over. Threads onto your existing barrel. Snugs up tight against the shoulder.
Ooh.
And then after that, you just put on whatever muzzle brake you want to put on, or suppressor or whatever. Sorry, it's background. It's just that simple. And then the tuner, to adjust it, you've got a set screw here. There's one set screw in it. There's 3 holes, and then you just tune it. You can run it forward and run it out over the barrel nut, the muzzle brake nut, or run it back. You've got about 5 full revolutions back. So it's got quite a bit of travel. Most people will find their node within the first rotation. Some don't. Some, finicky barrels may not. One thing I'll say is there are 3 holes in the tuner for the set screws. They're offset 120 degrees. I put 1 set screw in it when I ship it, and I provide 1 extra. And it takes 1 set screw to hold this, tighten it down. And the reason I don't provide 3, there's 3 holes. The other ones are for when you screw something up. Like We all over torque things. People don't listen.
No.
The reason I don't provide 3 screws because people don't listen. If I provide 3, you're going to look and say, well, it's got 3 holes. There's 1 in it. You're going to put the other 2 in it. So I stopped providing 3. And people saying there's a huge warning label on the tuner when you get it that says, do not use 3 screws. It will vibrate loose. And that's just because of the design. If you put 3 screws in it, you're basically centering everything up like a gimbal. And so when you center everything up like a gimbal, it's much harder to get it secure. And so you've got a little bit of tension, a little bit of grip on all sides, but because it's not as much as you could have with just one, it can vibrate loose. 1 screw, tighten it up. Don't be afraid. If you strip a hole or strip a screw, you've got 2 other holes, and it holds. I have not had one come loose. I would tell you, I mean, just like anything else, check your screws periodically. Like, don't set it and forget it. It's good to check your gear. You check your scope. You check everything else. Check your muzzle brake, your action screws. Check the screw every so often. But 1 screw, please use 1 screw. I'm not going to give you 3 because you're probably going to put them in the holes, and then I'm going to get a phone call.
So when you put it all together and looking at it, it's a little bit bigger than the muzzle brake. Does it get hung on barricades?
The original design, like you could catch it on a barricade, no different than you'd catch a suppressor. So, I mean, I wish I had a suppressor down here. I should run upstairs and get one, but it's a smaller diameter than a suppressor. So if you run a suppressor and you're fine with this. The new ones actually are tapered in the back, and they hold a much closer fit to the barrel itself. If you hook it on something, I mean, don't worry about it. I did a video where I took the original design, which you could hook on something and beat the living tar out of it, to the point where I almost split a 2x4 in half. The tuner never moved. It never budged. Nothing ever happened. You know, it's no different than, like I said, anything else in your barrel. If you catch your muzzle brake on the side of a windowsill, you've got effectively teeth in the side of it that are going to catch a windowsill. So I would say you're always able to catch whatever is attached to your muzzle, whether it's a muzzle brake or a suppressor. But the tapered version that, fits much closer to the barrel, you're less likely to do that. And if you do, you're going to be pulling it back hard enough. You're just going to rip somebody's 2x4 up. So, but you're not going to hurt the tuner at all. I think in the video, I intentionally hooked a barrel on my barricade. I hooked it on a big 36-inch steel plate and beat it up. I drove over it with my F350. It still works. Like it loosens up and spins, and it works just fine.
I got a couple lives during that last one. Whoa, why'd we move? Josh said he's going to go ahead and have Chad spin his barrel down so it'll fit, and that'll be a lot easier than threading it. Just bring it down to the right size. Sniper Bill wants to know if the XL tuner will fit an M24 contour barrel.
The standard competition will fit an M24 barrel. The standard competition will actually fit a barrel diameter of 1.08 plus or minus, so say 1.07. And I made it that size. It's actually bigger. The tapered version will fit a larger diameter barrel than the original version will. And that's only because of people like Jake Vibert, who came out with his JVCC contour that is just a honking barrel at the end. And so this will actually fit a JVCC contour, which is bigger than an MTU at the muzzle. And that's at, say, 26 inches, but even at 24 inches, you should be fine. The easiest way to figure it out is measure your barrel diameter 2 inches behind the shoulder. And for people that don't realize, because I've gotten some weird emails, the shoulder is the flat spot, right, that your muzzle device sits up against. It's not the spot with no threads. It's the flat spot. So measure your barrel diameter about 2 inches behind the muzzle. If it's 1.08 or less, right around that 1.08, plus or minus, run the standard comp tuner. If it's above 1.08, you're going to need the XL. And then there's a hunting version. I only made a small run of those. So, I don't know if I'll even make another run of those. We'll see. But like I said, the comp version fits pretty much everything we run in PRS, unless you're running like a 22-inch MTU or something, but just measure your barrel diameter per the instructions on the site, and you'll know if it'll fit.
All right. I got a couple Ryans
So
asking questions.
I know you guys didn't want to do this, but Prentice Wink asked how far is 2 inches. Prentice, run to the bathroom, look in the mirror, you're good. You wanted a shout out, now you got one.
He set himself up for that one. He left that one wide open.
He did. I was about to say that, but I was trying to be good.
He got a shout out.
Prentice is a good guy, so.
Hey, Pete Winky, love you, buddy. I'm gonna drink some wine now. Water. Water.
We had a couple from Ryan, right? Or
all right. So Ryan Wicker wants to know, will it work with brake adapters like the Area 419?
Yes. Yep. It'll work with the 419 adapters. It'll work with their Maverick. Yep.
And then Ryan Hay wants to know, no change to threading on the end of the barrel. Example, running a Hellfire adapter with a Maverick or Crux with an adapter.
Nope. No difference. It goes on first and then put whatever muzzle device on afterwards or muzzle device adapter.
Sweet. This sounds so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, for me, I just wanted to learn about it, and I wanted it to be easy to learn about on different barrels. And so, the flexibility was kind of just a byproduct of that. I never would have expected, like I said, to get the visibility that they got. But, made like 5 of them as prototypes in the original design, and put them on some friends' rifles. And like, we all just kind of looked at them like, wait a minute, this is working. And the interesting thing that has started to kind of show itself more and more is that if you follow the instructions on the website or on the, that come with the tuner, the patterns that this thing provides are pretty repeatable across about 90 to 95% of the rifle barrels of people that have sent me their groups and patterns and said, where do you think the node is? Which I'm not going to say that was by design. I think I really fell into a sweet spot there. But I can look at those groups if you follow the instructions and say, I think your node is here. And that's just because the patterns that are being created have been consistent from rifle to rifle.
That brings me to a live that I kind of disappeared. It got lost in it. But back when we were talking about bringing it from rifle to rifle, somebody asked, do you have good luck with, let's say, you have it on your match rifle and it's set at a certain place, and then, you want to try, your buddy wants to try it out, so you let him try it out. If you go and put it back on your match rifle and just, I'm assuming there's some sort of numbers or something on it.
Yeah.
If you turn it back to the same spot, do you have good repeatability, or is it recommended to go zero again?
It's been identical. I mean, I pull mine off, I clean the rifle, I put it back on in the same setting. It's been spot on.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There you go. Good on live?
Phil Cashin wants to know if they work with machine guns.
So oddly enough, that is something that I want to test with them. I think it would be interesting since, gas guns, let alone, full automatics, have a lot of moving parts. I will say that recently been doing some playing with gas guns with them. And Chase Stroud posted one here recently with an AR-10 6.5 Creedmoor, which was literally one hole. And I mean, one hole, like you couldn't tell the difference if there were additional holes there. He called me up and he was actually kind of mad at me. He's like, I'm kind of mad at you. Like, this is an off-the-shelf rifle. This was crap, kind of factory ammo. And, we tuned this thing and it shot the best group I've ever shot with a gas gun. And it was a customer's rifle. This past weekend, I was out doing some, and I've played with it, but I haven't really posted much. But I put it on my 223 and my 223 precision gasser, and it's shooting in the ones. I was doing dot drills with it with like 0.3 inch size dots. Like it's shooting in the ones. It's pretty ridiculous. There's a post of it on my webpage. But the gas gun for me is actually really interesting because like the ability to tune a gas gun to work almost as good as a bolt gun. There's a lot of promise there.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. If you could take a gas gun with factory ammo and having it shoot like that, that's
Yeah. It's funny. I mean, there's one customer that ordered it and he's using it for black powder bench rest.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I had no clue. I thought it was a joke when I first got it. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, this is real. But he's using it on black powder bench rest.
There you go.
That
Get into
works. So, huh?
You want to get in discounts or you want to hit 6? It's up to you.
I was going to hit 6.
Go ahead and hit it.
So I like shooting factory ammo mainly because I'm lazy and I don't like to have to load, develop, and reload. And I have a job and kids and all that good stuff. So does the tuner help take, so I love factory ammo, but it's not developed exactly for my barrel, right? So does the tuner tighten up groups of factory ammo? Basically, you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier, someone that can go and buy whatever ammo, but will it take factory ammo that's not tuned to that rifle and kind of make the group shrink? Or is it only really work for hand loads?
I mean, it pretty much works for anything. Are you going to take factory ammo in a off-the-shelf rifle and get it to shoot one hole? No, I can't say that, and I would never say that or guarantee it. Can you take factory ammo in a rifle that doesn't have known issues and improve it? I'm pretty confident to say yes across the board. Like, I think the real value is factory ammo. And if you look at like hand-loaded ammo, you can have hand-loaded ammo that shoots like crap. Not really any different than factory ammo. I mean, we say factory ammo versus hand loads, but just because it's a hand load doesn't mean that it's actually good loads, right? Like some of the people that load for hunting and they're happy with their deer rifle that shoots 1 inch or, pipe plate accurate at 100 yards for deer season, and they hand load. So I don't think it really matters whether it's factory ammo or hand loads. I mean, it's just ammo that may not perform as well as you want it to in your rifle. And the answer is, yeah, you can tune that and make it better. I get the question a lot, like, how much better does it make it? And I kind of laugh at that question. I'm like, well, how much better can I make it? I don't know. Like, how fast can you run? Like, how fast can you run if you worked out for a week or you worked out for 2? I don't know. Like, that's not a question that can be answered. Can it make it better? Yes. As to how much, I can't tell you that because every rifle is different, every ammo is different, every shooter is different. I don't know. The person that can shoot one hole groups versus the person that can shoot half-inch groups. I mean, where do you start? Like, there's no real answer for that other than, yes, it can make it better. If you ask me how much better it can make it, I don't have an answer for you. And I get frustrated because they keep asking me, well, what was it before? It doesn't matter what it was before. Like, that rifle is different than the next rifle. It's different from the next rifle.
Mm-hmm.
It's different from his shooting ability versus your shooting ability versus the day you shot it on. Like, I can shoot one hole groups, and then the next day I go out and it's like, all right, I see Mirage. Can you still shoot one hole groups? Maybe. I mean, if you're
so, will it overcome issues like an inconsistent CBTO or, if you're not, if it's a load that's not in a good node for your barrel, will it overcome those things and tighten the group up?
I think it can make it more consistent, and I think you can tighten the group up. Will it overcome completely garbage ammo? No. Like, can it make garbage ammo a little bit better? Yeah. Is it going to turn garbage ammo into a one-hole precision rifle? No. Right? But can you improve on what you have? Yes. And if it doesn't improve on what you have, I would tell you that your ammo is beyond garbage, or you've got a problem with your rifle.
Beyond hope.
or you're not one that can shoot to tell the difference. And I hate to say that, but you've got to be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I go out and shoot on a day that it was a really cool night and now all of a sudden it's really hot out in the morning and it's like super soupy and miragey at 100 yards, and I come back in, I'm like, your tuner didn't do anything. It doesn't improve it. Like, you're shooting in crap conditions. Like, what do you expect? Like, I mean, you got to set realistic expectations. You got to be able to tell, is it you? Is it your rifle? Is it the ammo? Is it a little bit of everything? If you can't shoot a 1 inch group with any rifle that you've got, your money's probably better spent on crap ammo to try and get a better consistent pull and fundamentals.
Mm-hmm. So I had someone ask, if you're hand loading and you know what you're doing with that, do you load develop with the tuner, or do you load develop then add the tuner and try and improve that?
So I get this question a lot. And I struggle with the answer. And the reason I struggle with the answer is, if you really want to find out what your barrel likes, you're going to do load development and you're not going to put a muzzle brake on it, right? Because any weight added to the end of the barrel is going to change your harmonics. Mm-hmm. The thing with the tuner is, if you put it on and you leave it consistent, like, don't go and try and change tuner settings the same time you're trying to do load development. If you're going to do a seating test versus a powder test, a charge weight test, there's a lot of known areas where powder charges work, seating depths work for different bullets and so on and so forth. I will tell you that personally, I am not a fan of bullets that are seated between jam and 30 thousandths jump. If you saw the article, I think it was last year, of like Mark Gordon did jump testing. Maybe it was even before that. Mark Gordon had been doing jump testing for a long time. Even when I was shooting for Mark, a couple years ago, like, I was helping do that, and I learned a lot from that. I don't like the 0 to 30 thousandths range or 0 to 35 thousandths for what we're doing. And the reason being is, like, if I go out and do my jump test, which is like the Precision Rifle blog did that article on Mark and kind of all the different versions. And there was a blurb in there on mine from helping Mark. Like, your jump test, if you go out and load 20 rounds with each round seated progressively like 5 thousandths deeper with the same powder charge, who cares what the powder charge is? And if you have the ability to do, like, you're a good shooter and can shoot them at a consistent dot, and you shoot them at like consistent dots across the piece of paper, you'll see the same thing. You'll see that your point of impact does this relative to your aim point. It creates a sine wave. And the largest amplitude of the sine wave is between that 0 and 40 thousandths mark. And after you get to about 50 thousandths, instead of doing this, it does this. It's much smoother. And so for me, that translates to a much more forgiving jump. And in PRS, I've been to matches. I was at the MPA match a couple years ago. And it was like 105 degrees down there, and we were shooting, and our barrels were so hot. Like, if you reached down to pick your rifle up off the line by your barrel, you blistered yourself. And all I could think about was, man, I'm probably really eroding my lands. And that went back to, well, if I'm loading between 0 and 35 or whatever, and I'm eroding lands, and say I move 2 thousandths, I don't know what you would actually move. I've never measured it, but if you move 2 thousandths during a horribly hot match like that, well, your point of impact is probably for me, I think point of impact is going to change much more drastically. So, most of my loads these days, in all transparency, I'll go 75 thousandths off with a 105 hybrid. There's like a 50 to 70 thousandths node, like 75 to 95, depending on the barrel. But 75 thousandths has been kind of a sweet spot for me. I'll load 75 thousandths with a powder charge that gets me the velocity that I want. And if you're throwing consistent powder charges, you should have fairly consistent ESs and SDs. I think they're a little bit more consistent at larger jump than a shorter jump. But again, from that perspective, I do load development with the tuner. Actually, I don't do load development anymore, really. I seat them at 75 thousandths. I put the tuner on and I adjust the tuner to get the groups, and they'll shoot one hole. Every rifle's not probably going to do that. I've been loading for a long time. I've done a lot of really cool things with loading. I've done a lot of dumb things over the years with loading. But it works and it stays consistent for me for the life of the barrel. I hated chasing loads when I ran 647 for years, and every match I'd come back and I'd seat them longer. I haven't changed my seating depth in the last 2 years since I've been doing this. And I think, when you load them long like that, part of what's happening is, I can't prove it, but I think you get like a little bit more of an equalization in the chamber. The velocities are a lot more consistent. Like the velocities between a 0 jump to a 40 thousandths jump will change more just from the seating depth than what they will change from like a 75 thousandths jump to a 90 thousandths jump. Test it, try it. I've had a couple people ask me, and I'll tell them like, hey, humor me and try this. And they'll come back and like, dude, that's the smallest group I've shot. Like, I'm not saying it's the only way to do it, but it's an easy way to do it. So I would tell you, like, do load development with the tuner on. Your load technique is, make that decision. You're going to have to figure out what's best for you. But whenever you add weight to the end of the barrel, your harmonics change, whether you're adding a thread protector, a muzzle brake, a suppressor, or a tuner.
There you go.
Probably the long-winded version of not giving a good answer.
Onto the seating depth thing. This season is the first time, because when I got into it, everyone's like, yeah, try 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 thou off. I'm like, okay, cool. But this season I went all the way out to 70 thou in my tests and settled on 60. And this is the best shooting rifle I've ever had with the long jump in there. I think I got right in a good node.
You'll lose a little bit of velocity going from like a 20 thousandths jump to a 75 thousandths jump. But again, like if you loaded rounds at 5 thousandths increments from 0 to 100 thousandths with the same powder charge, and you recorded your point of impact and your velocity for each one, you'll find that between 0 and 40, most of the time, your velocity is going to have a larger swing than what it will have between 50 to 75 or 75 to 90. And your point of impact will have a larger ES from your point of aim than what it will have from the larger. Is it the right way? It's just a way. I mean, there's a million ways to do loading. Do what makes you happy.
I think if I had a tuner and I were to do it, I'd develop my load with the tuner at, I'm not sure if it's like 0 and then negative and positive or what, but set the tuner somewhere near the middle where you have the most range of adjustment in both directions, depending on which way you need to go to, after you get your best load with the neutral, and then dial it in either forward or backwards, whichever way you can go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, I've found a lot more consistency from day to day, temperature swing to temperature swing, location to location, with the tuner. But I mean, it's not for everybody. It's not a magic device. I mean, I don't know.
It kind of seems like a magic device.
You're kind of like, this is kind of magic, but they work.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was the same match we were talking about before in Alabama. We were all down on the 0 range, and Corey Adamski went down and shot a group. He's like, wow, that shoots like shit. Okay, cool. Now we're one hole. And I was like, what is this voodoo magic you have here?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an awesome learning experience. And I mean, the tuners and people buying the tuners is great. I mean, it helps pay for daycare for me, for my newborn. You're not going to live off of it. But for me, I mean, I love seeing people get better results. And it's awesome, like having somebody reach out and be like, dude, my rifle's shooting better than it ever has before. I mean, for me, that's like the coolest thing about this is that I've got like the product really does provide a lot more flexibility for people. It helps them shoot, helps their rifle perform better with, less back and forth to the range. I mean, when you think about, doing load development when you can't shoot at your own house, it's a nightmare. Like taking your crap to the range and loading it at the range and spending all day out there. Like it's just a pain in the butt. Like the ease of saying, all right, I'm just going to pick like a middle of the road charge. It's going to give me the speed I want. It's, seating depth be damned. And I'm gonna go to the range with 40 rounds or 30 rounds or 20 rounds, and I'm going to shoot it and figure out what works. And hey, look, it's one hole. It's shooting in the 1s and 2s.
You're doing a really good job of making me want one of these things.
Yeah. Pre-orders.
It's pretty cool. They were.
There you go. These things work for gas gun ARs too, bolt guns. I mean, are they flexible like that between platforms?
Most people use them on bolt guns, but whether it's a bolt 22, 22 precision 22 is really grown. I don't know that you can find a bench rest shooter out there that's not running a tuner on a 22, right? You're not doing hand loads. You're sending your rifle off to the Lapua tunnel, telling them to lot match your ammo, and then you're buying as much of that lot as you can possibly find. And I think that, that goes back to my earlier comment of, those guys are running short, stiff barrels because 22s don't really have much harmonics anyway. So you were trying to mitigate any harmonics by just getting the stiffest, shortest, fattest barrel you could find. But you were able to adjust somewhat with a tuner, and they were still using tuners. Tuners on rimfires is pretty much a given, right? You want to do precision rimfire, you're going to want a tuner. Bolt guns, they work. I mean, I'm not going to argue whether they do or don't work. They're proven. Bench rest has been doing it for years. It's not a new technique. Gas guns, we might be tinkering with something new here. I mean, I'm not saying that tuners are, by the way, new, but I don't know too many people that have been playing with them on gas guns. I'm sure they're out there. But the results that I've seen with people putting it on a gas gun has kind of blown my mind. Like doing dot drills on small circles with a gas gun is not something you generally expect. Shooting one hole groups with a gas gun, not something you generally expect. And when I say I'm doing dot drills, I'm doing dot drills with 77 grain Match Kings loaded on a Dillon. Like it's got probably an ES of 70 feet per second. And it's shooting like in the tenths at 100 yards consistently. So I think you're going to see more and more adoption on gas guns, like very, very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Any good lives, Jen? You get anything?
Not that I can see right now.
Yeah, I think we're good on lives.
Yeah, we're good on lives.
What about calibers? So I know we mentioned it'll work on rim fires, which is awesome. What about like these ELR guys and gals?
We can roll into some. We can do the discount corner thing. I know we're kind of winding down the show here. Most of these Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals are going to be probably better than our discount codes that we have throughout the years. I mean, our always good codes. I'll start it off at like pretty much everywhere. You can even try it on Aaron's website. You might get a surprise. But I know Taran Tactical has a Black Friday sale where it's like 30% off. So I'm giving you a 10% off code, but they're running this, I believe, until it might be over like by midnight because they usually run on Black Friday to Cyber Monday. But you can get 30% off Taran Tactical Innovations, TaranTacticalInnovations.com. Who else? I know GSL Technologies is running they'll cover your tax stamp for your suppressor. Now that was a Black Friday deal, and you had to, where is it at? I had it pulled up. You had to email Kevin at GSL, and we'll plug that in the comments. His email, maybe that can still be good. Get your $200 tax stamp covered if you purchase a GSL Technology suppressor. It had to be the multi-cal package or suppressor of greater value to get your $200 tax stamp covered. So I think that was a solid deal if you were on the fence about getting a suppressor for anything. And we'll plug that in the chat, which we'll get it over into the comments. And that's all I have for discount corner here as far as like who supports the show and what I've seen come out here. GSL. Greg, you got me? You're mute.
I'm sorry, I only heard like half of what you said.
Lagging out?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of bad.
Yeah, you need some internet.
You need some Wi-Fi.
Yeah. My discount, I have the code Mindset10 in all caps. It'll save you 10% off of all Phone Scope products. It's a really awesome training aid. You make some really lit videos for the Instagrams. So go check them out.
Jen, what do you got?
You can get 10% off at carbonarms.us on carbon arms, shotgun, shell caddies, and all that good stuff for 3-gun. And you can get 10% off of Under Industries on great jerseys, hoodies, arm sleeves. They have all kinds of stuff. So check them out at Under Industries on Facebook. And if you mention the Shooter's Mindset, you will get 10% off. That's all I got. Aaron, you got anything?
Aaron, you got anything on the fly? Discount codes?
I don't. I would love to have some discount codes right now. I can't even keep things. I'm afraid to do discount codes because of the fact that people's going on discount and expect it to be shipping next week. And it's just right now, it's not going to happen. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to do more and more of these. There's only so much that I can do. Looking to try and find a way to better support the community, both the precision rifle community as well as like the law enforcement and first responders, military community. It's just right now it's been a bit hard in trying to find an effective way to manage those programs. What I don't want to have happen is create something that everybody tries to abuse. And so, our first program will probably focus on, law enforcement, military, and first responders, and then we'll work from there.
Yeah. So the tuning process of the tuner, is it a difficult thing to do? Do you find a lot of emails regarding how do I do that? Or is it pretty straight up? Because I had,
no.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, no, I throw an instruction sheet of paper in the box with each tuner. I find a lot of people don't read them, and then they message me like, hey, like which group do you think is the right one? And I'm like, well, I recommend you do it again and follow the instructions. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but I go back to the patterns that I've been seeing with people running the tuners, and the patterns are pretty consistent. So if you follow the instructions, the patterns are pretty consistent. I'm in a much better position to help you out if you do have a question about nodes. It's super simple. It's literally shooting a couple shots, loosening an Allen wrench, rotating it a certain amount, shooting a couple more shots, and so on and so forth. The patterns will start to present themselves and repeat themselves. And from that point, it's a matter of finding where your node is and then kind of locking it down in the center of that. It's super simple.
That's funny. You sound like
I say that because
So you,
go ahead, Greg. I'm
sound
fucking
like
lagging shit. So.
Yes, you are. You sound like a good friend of mine that works in the customer service side of the gun industry. You could just read the instructions and they'll tell you what to do there. And
yeah, and I'm not trying to be like harsh or mean or anything like that, but guys, if you send me an email and ask me questions that are in the sheet of the instructions or listed on the webpage, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to reply. And that's because there's an auto response that says the majority of questions can be answered on the website. I will focus and spend my time on the questions that are not able to be answered on the website. And that's not me trying to be mean or harsh, but if you aren't willing to read the instructions that come in the box and on the label, like I've had a lot of people rip the label off and like, hey, you only sent me 2 screws and there's 3 holes. And I'm like, did you even look at the big label that said warning when you open the box? Like, I'm not trying to be harsh. I don't have time to respond to every email because somebody didn't listen to the instructions. So, and I mean that because look at the instructions, look at the warning label, read the instructions on the website. You're going to be much better off. This is kind of funny. I sent one, I've sent a number of these to PRS shooters and I send it to them and I say, guys, I know you know how to shoot. I know you know how to do load development. Please, for God's sake, just read the instructions and do what it says. Like, don't put it on and just start twisting it. I can help you if you actually read the instructions and do what it says and come back to me. But and I've done the same thing. Don't get me wrong. I am not immune to this. I've gotten a new product and I throw it on the rifle and do it. And I don't read the instructions. I'm like, man, this thing's broken. It's like, oh, no, I didn't read the instructions. Humor me. Just there's a reason the instructions are there. It's because of the patterns and the consistencies. More than happy to help you out. It'll also explain why you don't get 3 screws with it. And again, if the answer is in the instructions, I'm not going to reply to the email. I don't have time. I want to focus on getting the tuners made. I want to focus on getting the tuners packaged. I want to focus on getting the tuners out to the people that are ordering them and the dealers that are ordering them. So please read the instructions on the website. Please follow them. If you follow them, I'm in a much better position to help you out afterwards. I see somebody ask what brand is the tuner. It's, we started out, it's kineticsecurity-solutions.com or adaptivetuningsystem.com. Either one of them will take you to the same page.
Awesome. Yeah, it really, really, really amazes me the amount of people that cannot follow, won't take the time. And I understand, sometimes you'll get something and you'll get a book like this thick for, how to use your Bic lighter. But like, there's a lot of the gun industry stuff, when you buy a gun, you got that BS that has to be in the front of it. And then there's like the manual, and it's very clear and concise. And, it seems to be a gun industry thing of like fitting the most valuable information into the smallest, the least amount of words. And there's like pictures and shit in there, and people still won't read it sometimes.
Look, like even people that have experience with tuners, I would tell you, please first run through, just read the instructions and try it. Humor me. The most you're going to be out is like 30 rounds. If you follow the instructions and you haven't found a node in 30 rounds, do whatever you want and call me. Like if you've got experience with tuners and you haven't found a node in like 20 or 30 rounds and you feel you've got a better way to do it, by all means, do whatever you want. If you've never used a tuner before, read the instructions, follow the instructions, and take a picture of your target. If you've got a question, send me a picture of the target. If you've got
Does
a question,
the instructions have a lot of pictures?
there are no pictures. It's that simple. Like their
I
pictures
might
are not
need
needed.
pictures.
I will create a special one just for you with pictures, and
Thank
we'll
you.
get we'll make an emoji, like
I'm a
Jen
visual
emoji.
learner.
Yeah. But again, like if you don't follow the instructions and you reach out to me and say, hey, here's the groups that it created, I can look at it and say, you didn't follow the instructions. Like if you would have followed the instructions, I'm going to be able to see the patterns 90% of the time, unless you've just got a barrel that just hates life. And then you've got another problem altogether. But if you follow the instructions, you send it to me, I'll be like, oh, try this, try that. This is probably your node. And I, most of the time, like been pretty spot on. And again, I'm not saying that that's by design. I think that part of that is a bit of luck into where we ended up with the design and the weights and everything. But follow the instructions. Like the instructions are consistent. The results have been consistent the majority of the time. It allows me to say, yep, I've seen that before, do this. If you just go out there and you spin it from 2 to 12 to 4 to 24 and third rotation and say, hey, here's the groups that it presented. What do I do? I'm like, start over and follow the instructions and send me a new picture. I can't help. I mean, I'm giving you instructions so I can help. If you don't follow them, I can't help.
Yeah, it bothers me. I spend a lot of time like making stuff super simple and straightforward at work, and you read the words, or you look at the giant flashing red message, and people still struggle with that. I get a call a lot of times like, oh, this is broken at work. I got the red line across the top of the screen. All right, well, inside of that red line, there's bright yellow text. What does that say? Wrong barcode scan. Well, that means you scan the wrong barcode. Look at the words below that with the picture, where there's a picture of the barcode with a green arrow pointing at it, and scan that barcode. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, thanks for helping.
What does that alert say? Well, I'm looking at it and it says, you did what the instructions told you not to do. Read the instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the tuning process is really easy. 20 to 30 rounds. It works. It's been really effective. I haven't had a single one sent back where somebody said, hey, this thing doesn't work. And I think that's, like, for me, that's saying quite a bit. I've got more emails that are like, holy cow, like, look at this group. Holy cow, look at this group. Like, I wish I could post them all on the webpage. I don't even have the time to do it. I have done very minimal advertising for this, it's people out there like posting and saying, dude, look at the groups that I got with this thing. And that's what really makes me happy. Like I said, I didn't invent tuners. Tuners have been around for 100 years. There's a bunch of other tuners out there. If there's another tuner that you like and you like the way it fits your rifle, I would tell you to get it. Like, you're going to be happy with the results. Like, it's going to create something new for you. I've got a tuner. Other people have tuners. Like, I'm not the only one. If you want one that's like flexible, that you can move from rifle to rifle without gunsmith work and use your own muzzle brake and suppressor, yeah, I might be the only one there. I don't know. Like I said, this isn't a new concept. They're out there. There could be some out there that I don't know of, but it's up to you. But I mean, if you've never tried one, try a tuner. I think you'll be impressed.
So Joe wants to know, so should he read the instructions or not?
I just banned Joe from buying them, so it doesn't matter.
What you got, Greg?
So I look super frozen. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, you're frozen,
Yeah.
but we can hear you.
Okay, cool. I got a great face on. So like I'm over on the website. I'm trying to buy one. How do I know which one to buy? I see a Hunter, a Competition, an XL.
Yeah, so the Hunter was designed really for like backwoods pack hunters, guys that are going to be like, they're concerned with every single ounce. They're going to wear the same socks for the next 5 days. That was really designed for like backwoods pack hunters that are going to run like really light profile barrels or carbon light profile barrels that are concerned with every ounce. 99% of people are not going to buy that tuner. That one is for 750 diameter barrels and smaller. 95% of people will buy the standard competition tuner, which goes from whatever up to 1.08. The XLs were really designed for people that are running 125, like 1.25 straight tapers. And that will run up to like a 1.30, 1.31-ish barrel diameter. Again, measure your barrel 2 inches behind your muzzle. If the diameter is 1.08 or smaller, you can get the comp. If it's 700, 0.750 or smaller, you can get the Hunter. Again, don't even look at the Hunter unless you're like a backwoods pack hunter. That's really the purpose for that. It's only offered in 5/8 because of that. And if you need something that's like a 1.25 up to like 1.08 to 1.25 or 1.3, then you're going to want the XL. If you need something that's above like the 1.3, 1.31, that's not me. You're pretty niche market. You may want a fitted one. If you're running like a 1.3 plus barrel, you may want something with a little bit heavier weight to it. You may not. Like I said, every barrel is different. I mean, if you're running a 24-inch, 1.3-inch, 1.35 or 1.38 taper versus a 32-inch 1.3 taper, maybe you could get away with it.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier, if you really want to put it on there, you could just get the last 2 inches turned down a little bit.
You could turn down the last 2 inches. You could.
And that's probably, you still got to get the barrel off and then a lathe, but probably a little bit cheaper to say, hey, turn this down to, this diameter versus, hey, I need these threads, the second set of threads put on there. And you could still get the advantage of being able to pull it off of that barrel, put it on a different one.
I mean, you could put a barrel in a 3-jaw chuck and have it turned down in under 10 minutes. I mean, you don't have to dial anything in to turn down the barrel OD to match it. The other reason, like, they're really meant for like the 125 straight tapers. The reason they go to 1.3 is because a lot of the 125 straight tapers, like, the bore is not in the center, right? So that's the reason they're a little bit bigger than that.
So in your professional opinion, I'm an amateur gunsmith myself and I own a Dremel. Can I do this with a Dremel?
I think you should. Just don't call me afterwards.
Okay. Is that in the instructions? Because if it's not in the instructions,
Don't call
I think there's a statement. If memory serves me, there is a statement in the instructions that says something along the lines of if you modify it or you use it and whatever, like it's not returnable. But
I can run it over with an F350, right?
It actually still worked and spun just fine, smooth as glass.
All right.
So
you
once
sold
it's Go ahead.
Oh, you've sold at least 2 during the show, by the way. Alan Ernest wants to know when he can expect the order that he just placed, and Sniper Bill just ordered one also.
Yeah, so the original plan, well, the plan for this run was around the 3rd week of December with some of the delays. By the way, metal processors. But no, I mean, right now it's holiday season. I mean, in order to be honest, like I was planning around the 3rd week of December to try and get these back from the metal processor and the laser. It's looking right now like probably the 2nd week of January. We're trying to see if we can expedite the processing. If we can, we'll probably be able to get some out around the 3rd week of December. If we can't, you're probably looking at the 2nd week of January.
Well, that'll be just in time for my birthday.
Yeah, so I mean, what I'm out of is like, so I'm out of half and I'm out of 5/8 in the standard comp. I have 5/8 in the XL. I have 3/4 in the XL, and I have 3/4 in the standard comp. Where I'm lacking is 5/8 and halves. That's literally all I'm running on the current run is a boatload of 5/8 and halves. So if you got 3/4, you're good to go. If you want to XL and you want to run 5/8 or 3/4, those are in stock. When you order on the webpage, the button says, "Hey, out of stock, expected time frame." I do update that whenever I get a response from the nitriter or get a response from the engraver. The marker. I do update that. So if you ordered one and when you ordered it, it said, it's going to be the 3rd week of December and you want to know where the status of that is, go back and look like if you were going to order one again, and I will update those buttons on a periodic basis based on the information that I get back. So if I'm delayed due to a nitriter, I'm delayed due to marking, I update that button and, that's pretty consistent. So if you order it and it said estimated December 13th, it says estimated for a reason. It's estimated. I'm making my best guess. I can't control the marking company. I can't control the metal processing. Working on potentially bringing some of starting with probably the marking, bringing it in-house just to make things a little bit quicker. But I can't control the processing where, everybody's kind of stuck with that. And there's not a lot of really good metal processors out there, and the ones that are out there are definitely overloaded. So it's just the nature of the beast.
I understand how that is.
So if I got a tuner and I tuned it, is it then tuned for the entire life of that barrel? Or do you have to adjust it as the barrel gets more life on it? And then can I take it off and put it on another barrel and it's tuned, or do you have to adjust it again?
I would love to say that it's tuned for the life of the barrel. I don't think that's realistic. I would say that the tune is probably going to be more consistent if you tuned it correctly. The tuner is probably going to make your barrel more consistent for a longer period of time than trying to change your seating depth every time. I think if you tune it correctly, the tuners will give you a bit more flexibility. Now, granted, if you're one that's loading, jamming or loading 5, 10, 15, 20 thousandths off, you're probably still going to end up changing your seating depth because there is a much more of a change in kind of that pressure curve in that shorter jump range than there is in a longer jump range. So it's all really going to be dependent a bit on your loading techniques. Every barrel is different. I've had 6mm barrels that burn out in 600 rounds. I've had 6mm barrels that have lasted 1800 to 2200 with the same cartridge. So there's so many variables, right? And so that question of, well, how long will it last? How long will it do this? Every barrel is different. I mean, you get barrels in that are harder or softer than others, some that just wear better, some that are faster or slower. I mean, you get one barrel and it runs X speed, and the next barrel with the same exact charge is running 50 feet per second faster. So, I mean, there's so many variables that go in that I can't really tell you it's going to be able to keep it consistent throughout the life of the barrel. I will say that I think you are able to keep it more consistent for a longer period of time.
What's the most number of rounds you've shot through one tuner?
I've probably got 1,500 through a couple barrels. I've probably got between 12 and 1700 through 3 to 4 barrels in different cartridges where I haven't changed the load at all. Now that's also with me running longer jumps. And I'll say some of those barrels are 647 barrels. The only reason I say that is people say the 647 is super finicky. I ran 647 for years, for like the last 5 years. And yeah, I chased my loads before I ran tuners. I chased my loads every match.
Did you adjust the tuner? Did you have to adjust it throughout that length of time?
If you run a shorter jump, I think you will potentially have to adjust it more. If you run, so I started running longer jumps back when I was still running 647. So like 2 years ago. And I ran 647s with longer jumps, you know, for 1,000, 1,500 rounds. And with the tuner, it's the same thing, 1,000, 1,500 rounds or even longer. What I will tell you, the biggest thing I think for me is that the tuner makes things more consistent day to day, right? So say before I ran a longer jump and I ran that barrel for 1,000 to 1,500 rounds without ever changing the load. The difference being is that barrel, if I showed up to a match without a tuner, you know, my group size here at the house versus 8 hours away in different atmospherics was different. And when I put the tuner on it and, you know, ran the longer jumps with the tuner, my load here and my group size here was the same at the match that I showed up to. So I think it provides much more consistency. And so, well, a lot of people look at, well, can it make my groups tighter? Well, yeah. But what are some of the other benefits? And some of the other benefits, like the biggest one for me is consistency from day to day. Like I feel my barrels and my loads are a lot more consistent from day to day, location to location, temperature, you know, swing to temperature swing.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get one of these. Definitely.
Well, my biggest question is, if I get a tuner, will it make me shoot like Allison Zane?
I don't think nothing could do that.
Yeah,
not because of your shooting, but because of her shooting.
That girl's a machine.
I know.
She loves it, and she's a machine. She, you know, I mean, she hurts a lot of guys' feelings, and she deserves to. She puts in the work. You know, she shoots up here in the Northeast. So like all of us up here in the Northeast, like, I mean, we know her. We shoot with her all the time, and we stand back and we're like, that's ridiculous. Like she's just a machine. Like she likes to shoot. She loves to train. She shoots with no wasted movements. She's quick. She's smooth. She knows what's going on. I mean, and I mean, her parents support her. Her parents are great people too. Yeah, she's going to continue to hurt a lot of people's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never been beat by, I think she's 14, 15?
15
now.
Yeah, if you've never been beat by a 15-year-old girl, show up in a match where she's shooting and get experience with it, because she will.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of her strength is mental. She's just a smart freaking human.
She's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's something to be said about having fun versus trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
When you're having fun and you just love what you're doing, you don't have that self-induced stress of trying to perform well. And it shows. It shows. If you've never shot with her, she comes off every stage with a smile.
Mm-hmm.
She's just having fun.
What you got, Greg? Any lives?
Somebody said over there where they're in stock, but I'm not going to say that out loud because I got to get my credit card after the show, and after that I'll let people know where it's at. But I got to get one ordered.
Yeah, I'd say get it quick because they ordered more today, and like I said, I'm out right now. Like they're being made right now. They're coming off the machine as we speak, but they've still got to go out to nitride and oxide, and they've still got to get marked, and then I still got to QC every single one of them and package them up and ship them.
Greg, you want to hit the last one?
Sure. So I'm assuming you made the PRS finale. What other matches you got coming up for the rest of the year?
None. I went down to the AG Cup. I was down at the AG Cup. And then I had some some fun gear issues. But I'll be the finale, and then at the finale, after I'm done with the finale, I enjoy the finale because it's the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Put the rifle down for a while, go hunting, go bow hunting. I shoot a lot of coyotes. I'm looking forward to not having to pick up a rifle for PRS for a good few months.
Yeah, every once in a while you just need that, just like relax. Speaking of AG Cup, that was not there wasn't, it wasn't a huge match, AG Cup. There was 50 shooters, but I saw more of your tuners at that match. They were everywhere. Or maybe I just noticed them more there. I don't know, but it does seem like you have a lot of the top shooters in the country shooting them.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised to go down there. I mean, you're seeing more and more tuners show up. There were a number of my tuners down there at the match. You're probably going to see more of them at the finale. I know guys that I overnighted a bunch to a number of those guys down there that they were like, hey, you can have a tuner in time for me to use it for AD. I mean, I'm not going to say who, but I spent more money getting some of these things overnighted to some of these individuals than what the tuners themselves cost.
Damn.
They work. I mean, they help. And the finale, the AG Cup, we all stressed about the AG Cup. I would tell you that the top 50 or top 75 that are going to the finale are probably I'm going to the finale to hang out with my friends. I don't care how I perform because this is the least stressful event. Because we just want to go and hang out with our friends and have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's that's what I like about the finale. We're all happy to go out there, hang out with friends, and know that we are done for the year. Done. Put the rifle down, go away, throw it in a corner of the room, let it collect dust. It doesn't matter. But yeah, there's still that element of winning. So this is interesting. There's a guy on the chat who says it's more fun when you win. His name is Keith Sanderson. I didn't even know he had Facebook. Actually, I was pretty sure he didn't have Facebook. Not sure if anybody knows who this clown is, but he's an Olympic pistol shooter. He's a good friend of mine, and yeah, he's got a couple Olympic medals. But so yeah, his take it for what it's worth. It's more fun when you win is a little bit different than our winning a PRS match.
Yeah,
so hi, Keith, glad you made it.
Let's say it is fun when you win, but man, it's just fun to get with the PRS crowd.
Yeah, that's the best thing about the finale. Like I said, I think the majority of people going to the finale are like, man, I'm just going out here to have fun and hang out with friends.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens. It is what it is. The AG Cup has kind of become the new stressful match for people, just because of the money on the line and the visibility, and it's recorded and it's broadcast, and it was an interesting match this year. I mean, the AG Cup, you got down there the day after the hurricane rolled through, so
the wind was still there.
The wind was there, but it was switchy. That place never really has wind. And I mean, I remember shooting the one bus stage, and I came out of the bus, and Nick from Vortex looked at me and he goes, "Dude, you got screwed." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, the wind did everything from on the back of my neck to the front of my face. It swirled, and if you were in the bus, you couldn't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, it was not normal wind for being down at Arena.
Yeah, I've shot at Arena more than any place else, because that's our closest match at 5.5 hours away, and I have never seen wind anything like that out there before.
Okay. So one of the questions I get all the time is can you use it with this muzzle brake? Can you use it with this suppressor, or so on and so forth? Here's what I would tell you. Any suppressor should be able to use it, right? Because it's going to shoulder up. The only difference being is that some suppressors that have a larger diameter on the back, like the Thunder Beast, they kind of have a tapered back to them. Some suppressors are completely flat. The only difference being is on a suppressor, you may not be able to screw the tuner forward past the face of the mount. With a muzzle brake, you're going to want a muzzle brake that has a reverse jam nut or a lock nut against it. you need something that secures the tuner up against the barrel shoulder. People have asked, well, it doesn't have any threads, it's not going to hold, and you need 2/3 the thread versus the diameter. The tuner is effectively a washer. There's no stress on it. It's not in tension. It's in compression. It's a washer from a physics perspective. So as long as you can snug something up against it, it's good to go. If you've got a muzzle brake that has kind of a pinch bolt on it, most likely that's not going to work without shims, because, in order to time that muzzle brake, you're rotating it back and you're tightening the pinch bolt. So you're going to want a muzzle brake that has a kind of reverse jam nut, or a jam nut type mechanism to secure it. Or, like I said, pretty much every suppressor should work with it. The only difference being is that the weight may not be able to extend forward past the face of the mount.
Gotcha. So that sounds like it'll work with pretty much anything that anyone's going to be using in PRS.
Yeah, and if you've got a timed muzzle brake, it'll still work. You're probably gonna have to put shims in there to get the timing correct. But again, I go back to like designs for me. I had timed muzzle brakes. I'll never buy a timed muzzle brake again in my life. Like, there's no reason. There's so many good muzzle brakes out there that have the jam nut that allow you to put them on any rifle and not have to have them timed by a gunsmith, or not have to use shims.
Yep, like our buddy Phil Cashin that was watching earlier. I have like 3 of them.
Exactly.
The Phil, if you're still listening, 2nd gen is the bomb, by the way, with the little flats for the wrench. Love it.
This one?
That one. Yes. Yep. I didn't even know he came out with another one, and I ordered one, and it showed up, and I was like, oh, need more of these.
Yeah, I mean, the muzzle brakes I know off the top of my head would be the MPA, the Patriot Valley, the APA, the 419. But I mean, like I said, anything with the jam nut on there.
Yep, they make life so freaking easy.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
You got any more live?
We are good on the live side.
All right. Well, I think we're good to wrap it up then. We've been on for over an hour and a half. So, Greg, I'll let you start with shout outs.
All right. So we're going to start with GSL suppressors. Mine is going to look great after I put my tuner right here, and then my GSL Woodland right here. As soon as it gets out of ATF jail, it's currently sitting at Crackshot Pawn and Firearms. Shooters and Sharpshooters of Augusta, our local ranges. PDC Custom, the most beautiful rifle chassis known to man. It's available in lime green and normal human colors. NDZ Performance to build a real sweet Gucci Glock. Phone Scope, Shooter's World Powder. It is still in stock. It works great. Y'all people that are dropping your varget all over the floor and sweeping it back up and picking out the beard hairs, if you can't find any more, try out some Shooter's World. Hunter's HD Gold, because I'm blind and I don't feel blind when I'm wearing them. And Vortec to keep your rifle nice and clean.
Awesome. Aaron, what kind of shout outs you got?
I like to give a shout out to the people that helped me out. I've been running American Rifle Company nucleuses for years. I've known Ted for years. So I'm a big fan of the American Rifle Company actions. I've got more of them than anything else, and I bought them. We know Ted doesn't really do sponsorships, but like I said, the engineer in Ted, he's a smart guy. So I mean, for me, I run American Rifle Company actions. My rifle builder is Alamo Precision. I run Hawk Hill barrels, Masterpiece Arms chassis, Trigger Tech triggers. I've been running Patriot Valley muzzle brakes, Masterpiece Arms, Unimounts for my optics. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody, but I don't want to. Clearly, running all the gray ops stuff for the amenities for, positional work. Let's see, who did I forget? I said triggers, Trigger Tech, chassis, Masterpiece Arms, actions, American Rifle Company, barrels, Hawk Hill, muzzle brakes, MPA, and Patriot Valley. Optics, I've run a little bit of everything. I've got a little bit of everything. Up until recently, I ran Collis, and now I've got some CCOs on there. I do not have a relationship with any optics company at this point. So I'm just running whatever I want to run. And honestly, like I said, actions, I run whatever I want to run. But for the most part, everything that I run is because I want to run it, and I've opted to run it. I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about like people that have things on their jersey and think that they just get things for free and it's a full ride, and that's not the case. The majority of us have bought those things ourselves, and like we picked them for a reason. And many of us will throw things on a jersey just to represent the good companies that we prefer to use. So that's kind of a common misconception. I hear this term Jersey Boys a lot, and I think the people that say that a lot are the ones that don't realize that, you know, a good example is when I switched to MPA, I had like 4 or 5 MPA chassis at my house. I never asked for anything from Phil. I put Phil on my jersey because I liked his product. He actually used to get mad at me for taking them off prize tables, and then say, "Why do you keep taking my chassis off prize tables?" And it was because I like them. So, you know, I wish a lot more people would realize that just because you see something on a jersey you should not expect that people are getting things for free or potentially even reduced cost. None of us are going to run something that we feel is not going to give us the most opportunity to perform well, no matter if somebody's giving that to us or not. And I think that's a common misconception in the shooting sports, at least in the PRS.
Yeah, but I fully agree with that. It's like, you know, there's not many people in the shooting industry that are going to, you know, take, you know, Dick Bob scopes and, you know, say, oh, Dick Bob's going to give me free scopes, I'm going to put that on my jersey. You know, a lot of us, it's, you know, I've been using this product for years. I believe in this product. I bought this product with my own money. And they noticed the fact that I was sitting there, you know, using their product, giving them money, and telling people like, hey, listen, this thing right here, you know, this chassis, this is my favorite chassis. You guys should buy this chassis, this PDC custom right here.
Yeah, beware the advice that you get from people online. Like, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Ask people's experience with other products, not just the product that they're recommending. I think that's probably one of the biggest giveaways. If they can only recommend one product because that's their experience, then, you know, realize that there might be some bias there. I'm not saying that it's bad. It's just they don't have kind of that full spectrum of experience. I've had every action stock, or I mean, for the most part, that's out there. And it's no different than the engineer in me. I just want to learn about them and figure out what I like. You know, the one other thing I'd like to say, like a shout out is, you know, my dealers that are carrying the tuners, thank you so much. You guys have been great. Like I said, Alamo Precision has them, Masterpiece Arms has them, Anarchy Outdoors has them, Short Action Precision has them, Patriot Valley has them. So if you can't find them on my site or their site, I would tell you to pre-order them through me if you can't find them on any of those, just because it helps me kind of plan for my manufacturing runs. You should see the same price at everybody. So, you know, everybody's held to the same price, and that's just so that, you know, one dealer's not, you know, undercutting another dealer. I want everyone to have the same opportunity. So, yeah, I'll check out any of them.
Sweet. All right. And for me, I'm going to do quick wrap ups. So just McMillan stocks, Night Force optics, GSL suppressors, Prime ammo, and Shooters of Augusta and Sharp Shooters of Augusta have been very kind to me through the years. And that is going to be a wrap for episode 319 of the Shooter's Mindset. I appreciate you coming on, Aaron, and spending 2 hours with us on a Tuesday night and talking about your tuner. So
I appreciate it. Like I said, anybody feel free to reach out to me. My email's, you know, out there. It's just info@kinetic-solutions. More than happy to try to answer the questions unless they're on the webpage.
Sounds good. All right. And that'll be a wrap. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thanks.
Yep, see y'all.